call them on the carpet, then they have to backpedal and just say, well, this is just an appeal to my reasoning or collective reasoning of other human beings. Right? It's that simple. So you can be snarky, but you're not in a very solid position.
Well, I thought it would just be humor you could appreciate, but still.
You're going to have to speak louder because I couldn't understand what you said.
I thought it would be humor that you could appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the value realist sort of proposition, I think, is more of I don't know, a defensible stance than the categorical imperative of any kind, really. Is there I don't know, a objection to value realism, or?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Is there an objection to what? Did you say realism?
Value realism.
Well, there's a whole lot of nomenclature thrown around and qualification as to what those means. So why don't you tell us what you mean by that? Do I object to certain conclusions that do not start from the presupposition that the Christian God exists? Yes.
Well, I don't know that it directly denies any of that, but at the very least, it holds that the values, etc., that are things that are at the very least held as good.
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're saying.
Well, might help a bit if I could get a little bit further into it, but the things are good in light of basically in order to do something, promote something, and so on.
Was there a clear point there that you wanted me to respond to?
Well, yes. Kind of realism with respect to the hypothetical imperatives and things serving some value or other good in light of that is a coherent position.
I more than half the time I don't have the foggiest idea of what you're saying, Nadia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be snarky or rude either.
It's all right. I understand that I am not the most effective.
So do you think that certain skeptics' positions do not borrow concepts that are derivative from the Christian worldview?
Say necessarily almost all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there are some Christian atheists out there, like Reverend Price.
There are Christian atheists?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Oh my God. Humpty Dumptyism.
Yeah, Robert Price thinks, don't know if it's like the moral teachings or something like that.
You do understand that the concept of Christianity entails theism.
Mm.
Not merely somebody who likes the moral teachings of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You do know that Jesus advocated theism. So
concept of Christianity does.
If one is a Christian, but they don't subscribe to Jesus theism, then basically they're what we might call a cafeteria. A cafeteria Christian, but I don't even think that's fits either. What's the point? What is the point of calling somebody a Christian when they are completely at odds with the core central teaching of Jesus' message? I mean, what is the point?
How do you know what the teachings are if you can't interpret the Bible?
All right, Nadia, I got to turn this volume down here so I can hear you when you respond. Hold on, let me turn this down.
Yeah, you didn't answer the question.
All right,
well,
let's see. Okay.
I wouldn't need them in here.
Turn down. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Nadia, can you kick him, because this is effectively the same as blocking someone.
Right, I mean, he just does this all the time.
Right, he turns down effective criticism.
Right, he's making conversation impossible.
Right, this is effectively the same as blocking someone, because he's not going to be able to hear when I'm talking, and he's going to talk over me. So.
I was hoping to, I don't know, have the conversation or whatever.
Nadia, do you think it's coherent? Do you think it's coherent to call somebody a Christian when they deny the very central core teaching of Jesus, from which all of his other teachings spring from?
How do you know what the teachings are?
Do you seriously think that is coherent to do that?
Well, again,
how do you know what the teachings are?
Okay.
Yeah, how do you know what the teachings are?
Well, my idea is that it doesn't actually represent adherence to Christianity. So. So it's not really.
It's nonsensical to call somebody a Christian who denies the central core message and teaching of Jesus. It's ridiculous.
Well, you're asserting that, but again, how do you know what the
Nadia, it's kind of like it's like calling somebody a vegetarian, but they eat meat.
The teachings of Jesus rest on a specific interpretation, right? So you have to justify why you interpret something some way rather than some other way. So what's the justification for your interpretation? Especially because, on your view, God might have a morally sufficient reason for deceiving your cognitive faculties, right? So what's the justification for calling a Christian this rather than that? What's the justification that these are the central doctrines to Christianity? Do you have a justification or no?
I have a question dodged.
It's true that that's a pretty serious issue. At the same time, I think it's worthwhile to note that while the moniker sounds as if there might be some kind of regular Christianity, it's more than it's adjective that it qualifies.
So Nadia, in the Christian worldview, is that God has constructed the world in such a way that is consistent with His nature, and that would entail the principle of identity, non-contradiction, and the excluded will.
So there's
now,
no.
Do you in your worldview? Excuse me, I'm talking.
Is there any evil in the world?
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Yeah. Is there any evil in the world?
I'm talking. You're interrupting me.
Created it.
Okay, so Nadia, in your worldview, do you assume that the laws of logic are universal? And if it's not just a mere assumption, what would compel you to conclude, in a knowledge way, that it was the case that the laws of logic were, in all times and all places, invariant? Nadia.
Well, Nadia, there's two parts to that question, right? I mean, one, he's probably assuming some version of knowledge which he has to justify. And number two is that what would it even mean for them to not be universal, right? He has to explain what that means, right? Because another way he tries to phrase the question is, how do you know that there's not how do you know a contradiction isn't valid in all times and all places, right? But again, what does that even mean, right? Because a contradiction is would be something in its negation both being true, right, or both being the case, right? But he has to explain what that means. Otherwise, he's just asking a gibberish question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess one way to phrase that such as a very reflective kind of more of our thought processes and such are.
Nadia, are the laws of logic invariant?
Well, again, what would it mean for them not to be invariant? You have to, Nadia, isn't that a question that he should have to explain, right? He's just saying a bunch of nonsense, right? What would it mean for them to not be invariant?
Nadia, are the laws of logic in your view invariant?
Well, again, what would it mean for them to not be invariant?
That they would in all times and all places hold up.
Oh, well,
because in the Christian worldview, they would be.
In every worldview, they would be.
Now, in your worldview, how would it be the case that they are?
What would it mean
after you have demonstrated that they are? How would you come to know this or become aware of it?
Well, again, what do you mean by knowledge? And again, what would it mean for them not to be?
I characterize these things as more of a procedural affair regarding how we make any kind of inference, as opposed to things.
Okay.
You know,
Are they Nadia? Are they invariant?
So, yeah, the dependence is not on the universe, differing in times or places, but rather on the thinkers themselves.
Nadia, in your view, are the laws of logic invariant?
Why are you dodging the question, right? What would it mean for them not to be invariant?
Well, yeah, what is it really that they depend on, right?
Nadia, are the principles of logic, principle of identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, in your worldview, are they universal? Are they invariant?
Yeah, can you tell us what it means to say if they weren't? What would it mean if they weren't invariant?
No. Number one, no, he can't do that. But let's go back to the more interesting claim, is where he said that God created the universe as consistent with his nature. Does that mean that evil is consistent with God's nature?
Oh, yeah.
So Nadia, did you need me to repeat the question?
Well, again, does that mean evil is consistent with God's nature, right?
Nadia, since you're the room owner and you're the lead moderator, why are you tolerating people not allowing you to answer?
Yeah, Nadia, why are you tolerating people dodging questions that they can't answer?
So Nadia, are the laws of logic
That's fine.
universal, as the word laws would imply?
I would say that they are.
Would you explain to us what it means?
I'm sorry.
Nadia, I can't hear you. There's crosstalk.
Why won't you explain what it means? Why do you dodge the question? Why are you so committed to dodging the question?
Well, the thing is, right, your thoughts regarding time, space, and such, the objects about which the thoughts are being made are not where anything is happening, right? So
I'm not understanding your answer.
It's rather the thinker, right?
You might want to explain the question.
Is it the case in your worldview that the principles of logic hold in all times and all places, Nadia?
And what would it mean?
They don't depend on the time or place because the things being thought about are not what the rules are mattering. I
didn't understand your answer.
The rules are things that are governing the thinker. The thinker could think about any time, any place, future, past, present, and so on.
Is that a yes, a no?
And they are.
Is that a yes?
Why are you interrupting?
So
Nadia, is that a yes?
That is, they are not dependent on time or place. No. Okay, if you want to just dumb it down like that.
So in your view, the principles of logic are not true at all times and all places, right?
Is
Is that your position?
Yeah. what I said.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Nadia.
That's the opposite of what I said.
I still don't understand your answer. You got to get closer to your mic.
She said that's the
I have my
opposite of
volume
what she
cranked
said.
all the way up for you. Hold on. Okay, I can't get my volume any higher.
Yeah, she said that's the opposite of what she said.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is it your view that the laws of logic are invariant and universal, or in your view, are they not?
Why won't you explain to us what would you mean for the not to?
Well, let's just recap the dialectic so far, because he doesn't seem to be able to pay attention. First of all, he can't explain what the question means, but let's assume some sort of hyper-intentional context where it actually means something to talk about impossible worlds. It seems as if he thinks it's a contingent fact that God created the world such that it's consistent with his nature, as in God could have created a world that's inconsistent with his nature. So on your view, Darwin, it seems like you're saying it's possible that the laws of logic could have not been universal, right? Because God could have created a world that's inconsistent with his nature, right? And in fact,
Nadia, do you have an answer?
Why are you?
and in fact, he can't, and you also can't explain how, if God created the world as consistent with his nature, well, it's possible that the world could potentially be evil. So does that mean that God could be potentially evil? Because that seems like a heresy, doesn't it?
Okay.
Darwin, do you think
So,
that God could
Nadia,
be potentially
you-
evil?
Yeah.
Why are
Nadia,
you interrupting?
Nadia, you posed a question to me earlier, and I'm attempting to respond to you like an adult. I'm not trolling you, but you're obviously tolerating and permitting the trolling that's going on. Now, that's your prerogative. Now,
How is there
if you
troll?
don't, excuse me, okay, Nadia, if you want me to have a conversation with you, I'll be glad to have it. But if you're going to allow this blatant trolling, then don't expect me to respond to you when you ask me a question, okay? I was being polite and answering your question, and I followed up with a question to you based upon your initial question to me about borrowing from the Christian worldview. So Nadia, what's it going to be? Are you gonna keep on allowing the trolling, otherwise indicating that you really don't want to have an interchange with me?
Well,
This is nothing but polemics. There's no trolling going on. I'm bringing up debate issues.
Okay, so the answer is no. You don't want to have a conversation. Okay, fine. You've made that clear due to your inaction, Nadia.
Interrupting stalker. I'm sorry. We can maybe slow things down.
You know, your inaction is an absolute clear declaration. You don't have an interest in actually having a conversation when you pose a question to me, because when I try to respond and converse with you, you do nothing to stop those who interrupt you. You do absolutely nothing.
Well, we're not interrupting her, right? You're the only one who's really interrupting a lot, right? Us speaking before she gives her answer isn't us interrupting her, right? But you seem to be unable to give us answers to the questions, right?
Well, maybe I'm not pushy enough or something, but still.
Well, Nadia, why don't you give me mod controls? I'll take care of it right away.
Oh my God.
Okay, because then the trolling will stop. Since you don't have the testicular fortitude to stop it, I think I have a good measure of testicular fortitude. So why don't you give me the mod controls?
You don't have the testicular fortitude to answer objections. You don't have any testicular fortitude.
I'm really surgically castrated.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So the testicular fortitude is a figure of speech.
All right, Mr. Testicular Fortitude, how about you answer the question?
Okay.
Right, when he
Or
said,
do you not have the testicular fortitude
So
to answer the question?
Nadia, don't bother asking me questions any further when you're going to tolerate this type of childish behavior. Okay.
you have the testicular
Because
fortitude.
you're not actually interested in a dialogue when you ask me a question. You're just looking for to create a sideshow.
Stalker. Well, the original
You can sit,
First Corinthians 6:19 related to the.
okay, Nadia, you can sit there and smirk and smile, but you're looking like an idiot on here because you're not really having a room. Okay,
Excuse her for talking while you're interrupting.
In having a dialogue because you put up with all of this sideshow behavior. So I'm done
Excuse her for
interchanging.
talking while you're interrupting.
Okay, it's real simple. Okay, so don't bother asking me any further questions.
Excuse her for talking while you're interrupting.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear what you were saying much.
Yeah, well, I'm not interested in responding to you any further since you tolerate the sideshow.
Well, again, right?
Well,
All we do is ask you questions, and then you go on some rant about how we're trolling you, right? But we don't interrupt you unless you start interrupting us, right? And when you say, well, you have the testicular fortitude to stop this trolling, all that means is that you have the testicular fortitude to stop people who you know are going to defeat you, right, from talking.
Well, maybe approach things a different way. Originally, the first we had a fitness discussion ongoing, right? And when you dropped in, that's where the first Corinthians 6:19 question originally came from. It's supposed to be a little bit of humor or whatever it is. And
Well, are you actually interested in a conversation with me or not?
generally,
Oh, okay, good. Then either put a stop to the trolling, and that way we could have a conversation. Or if you continue to allow the trolling that's been going on for weeks, if not months, then it means that you don't actually have a serious interest in having a conversation with me.
What exactly is your conception of trolling, right? Because it seems like somebody's trolling if and only if they ask you questions that you can't answer.
well, could we? I don't know. At least slow down. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, I'm fine with that. I just don't understand why he won't answer the questions.
Well, let's just have a debate. No trolling. Let's just have a debate. Let's just debate the issue.
I don't know. I just think it's weird. I've never seen trolling like I've seen with Darwin, how some people do it, and it's almost on the level of obsessive. So when I see normal trolling,
No. It's not almost. It's not almost, Hermine. Excuse me, Hermine.
it's the strangest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, you guys this is some Fatal Attraction shit. I mean, I'm looking at people like, where's the bunny boy?
Well, welcome to the internet, Hermine.
Yeah, but you get it excessively. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand what you think trolling is. Do you think debating issues is trolling?
No, I don't think anyone has an issue with debating issues. That's not it. It's following people. It's hunting them down. It's constantly like just kneeing in on them. It's strange. I'm like, look, if they're around, sure, troll. But to go find someone and like hunt them down like they're like, I'm telling you, it's bunny boy.
Well, Hermine, if you actually feel that way, and I believe that you do, you should also include those who facilitate that type of behavior. And that's exactly what Nadia is doing.
No.
By her willful, let me just say one more thing and you can speak, okay? Nadia's willful decision of inaction to put a stop to it means that she's a part of it. Okay?
I don't see how that follows.
I don't see how that one follows. Because Nadia's there's two aspects with it. One is Nadia's personality, and the second is how much should anybody involve themselves, because you don't allow the other person necessarily to solve it for themselves. So there's those 2 points. I don't know that I've ever seen Nadia put her foot down, even when she's getting trolled at levels that I'm like, dude. And for other people, I would say, wait a minute, why aren't you standing up? Because they're more of people who have that personality.
Hermine, are you suggesting that Nadia is incapable of running a room that's not a sideshow?
I'm saying she's less capable. I don't think incapable, but less capable, yeah.
I don't understand the point of these polemics. They don't seem to add anything to the discussion. We could just debate the issues if you wanted to.
Well, my only point of disagreement with you, I pretty much agree with you, Hermine, is when you said it's almost to the level of obsession. And that, I think, is an inaccurate assessment. It clearly has surpassed being almost an obsession. It clearly, to any neutral observer, is an obsession.
I don't know what your criteria for obsession is, because you come in here, you don't engage anybody except the person
I'll be right back.
You don't engage anybody except the person you think that you can defeat. And anytime anybody else tries to dialogue with you who you know you can't defeat, right, that's when you call them obsessed, that's when you call them a stalker. But there's no actual argument there.
Yeah, I haven't been around enough to weigh in on that. That might be true, that may not be. I don't know. Just when I call it, and I don't know if you're listening now, when I call it obsession, I think what happened with, what's the guy from Down Under, the one with the 2 wolves story? You guys remember? What was it, Nadia?
Rob Beasley.
That's exactly it. That was obsession. That was like, y'all are crazier than him right now.
Yeah, some pretty strange stuff too.
Okay. That was like, what?
you know, it's not like we're interested in like finding out where he lives and all this other crazy stuff, right? We're just trying to get him to answer the questions, right? And the reason well, that's one of the reasons. Another reason why we ask him the questions is that we know he can't answer them, right? Because if he thinks he can answer one of our questions, then he'll, I mean, he will not, there's not going to be any delay in him trying to answer us, right? Because sometimes when he thinks we've said something stupid or asked something stupid, right, you're going to notice that all of a sudden we're off his troll list, right? But then when we
because you don't allow the other person necessarily to solve it for themselves. So there's those 2 points. I don't know that I've ever seen Nadia put her foot down, even when she's getting trolled at levels that I'm like, dude. And for other people,